Yeah, sorry guys, we've started. People who are going to, because we have a lot of people registered, and because of the time, not everyone can make it in the evening. People have families and so on and so forth. So I promised to record, but I didn't start on time. So I apologize. A quick recap. We were talking about learning, unlearning, and relearning, and why it is different, why it is advanced metacognition. Yeah, metacognition or meta memory by Flowell is applied cognition. Yeah, so basically how we can learn uh, in the best way possible. Yeah, in order to reach our goals. Okay, Artom is recording the sessions almost from the start. Artom, yeah, you have a meta memory, yeah, of your own. Yeah, thank you. So that's where we stopped, guys. So just a quick recap. And learning, and learning is like, as I always say, you have to bring the horse to the water and you have to make him drink. Yeah, this is your responsibility. And this is where we have self-regulation. That's why they call it self-regulated learning. All the teachers, they talk about self-regulated learning, but in reality, a very small amount of people really understand what it actually is and why. For self-regulated learning, we need emotional intelligence. Please, everybody, understand. Emotional intelligence is not, the ceiling. Because, okay, IQ, we've decided not important because we can't change it for a couple of scores, yeah, throughout life with if we are in the proper environment. Yeah, if we were raised with having good parents, having higher socioeconomic background, it affected our IQ in a good way. So we can have a couple of points in life, but as my favorite professor from the University of London, Michael Thomas, always says that if you don't like your hair color, you can dye it. Yeah. So this is what he says about genetics. Yeah? If you don't like your hair color, you can dye your hair. Yeah, it's not a problem. So genetics is not destiny. Heredity is not destiny. So we can sort of, make our IQ higher. But understand that emotional intelligence, this is not the only thing that we have to talk about. It's just the very beginning, because we have spiritual intelligence, which is secular. It has nothing to do with religion. And we also have aesthetic intelligence, which is what people think is emotional, but is quite different. Yeah, it's about how we actually how we have this emotional understanding. So emotional intelligence is for self-regulation, and this is learning. Yeah, this is learning. Then unlearning. We stopped on unlearning. So unlearning is about life deep learning, and it's about going deeper. So when you unlearn, it's not that you forget your misconceptions, common beliefs, or things, knowledge that doesn't serve you anymore. This is also metacognition. It's the highest level. By the way, I always say that for those who don't know, Alvin Toffler, American futurist, he pointed that out, that the illiterate of the future are not the ones who cannot read or write. And these are the ones who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Here we go. Artificial intelligence, the times of super complexity, people who don't know how to learn, and to be precise, unlearn and relearn, are people who are illiterate in this 21st century. So unlearning is crucial, but unlearning is not forgetting. So that's why it belongs to the life deep learning dimension of learning. Because you go deeper. If you go deeper, into the things you really, can you please refer, sorry guys, the questions? Yeah, yes, I will try to answer, okay, your questions as soon as I finish the talk, because I can't multitask in such a way. So just keep your questions, okay? And I will try to answer as much as I can. So unlearning means going deeper into the subject, yeah? Going deeper into the subject. And we will talk about it from the neuroscience standpoint today and on the example of Garry Kasparov and his ideas. And relearning. Relearning, it doesn't mean to learn again. Relearning, it means to look at, and unlearning, sorry, that's our spiritual intelligence. Yeah, this is operating in our values. That's why it is so important for the companies to have eudaimonic and hedonic values. Yeah, and we apply the science of happiness here in our lab, because we call ourselves not just neuroscience, we are educational neuroscience, happiness, and futures lab. So we my dear teacher is Tal Ben-Shahar, the Harvard professor. He is the #1 scientist in the happiness studies field. He's my teacher. I'm very proud to collaborate with him. His course in Harvard on the science of happiness was actually gathered the biggest amount of students throughout the whole history of Harvard University. So we also apply here for unlearning, which is our research. This is our original contribution. So we go deeper into the things from the eudaimonic perspective, which is virtues. Yeah? As Aristotle said, the life well lived, and hedonic perspective. Yeah, which is our savoring of this moment, enjoyed. So now I'm teaching, I'm enjoying. I love doing that. And also my teaching is eudaimonic, because I know that this is my mission. It is meaningful for me. The only thing I'm not enjoying is that I had so many pickles today and I feel really thirsty. So forgive me. That was a big mistake, because when I feel dizzy, I like having some, sour food, some pickles. And that was a problematic before having to speak. So, but in general, this is unlearning. We're going to get into the topic very precisely very soon. So please follow our webinars schedule, and please make sure that you won't hear this anywhere else. You guys are so lucky, because I will tell you the secret. The majority of people are not very smart. This is the reality. So they go to sort of, mass market, all these webinars and listening to people talking about the same stuff every single time, nothing new. Of course, there are researchers, they produce wonderful cutting edge research, but very little amount of them can actually translate that and articulate that, verbalize it in a way that you guys understand. But also, in general, I have somebody else joining it, but in general, the majority of people don't have access to this kind of things. And so please don't be fooled, by all these huge gatherings, because some people think, okay, if this post has 1 million likes, it means this is the best on the market, or this expert, has been featured, and so on and so forth. Don't do these mistakes, because the best things, they are sold in the boutiques. It's not mass market clothing. Yeah, this is something that only one of a kind, and only you will be able to wear that. The same thing with science. You have to know the people, and you have to don't waste your time listening to people who can't teach things here and now. So yes, of course, it's about you to conduct research after all, and look through the material, but your learning starts here and now. And I really wish that after this webinar, you will gain something different. Yeah, so unlearning and relearning is looking at the things from a different perspective, from a different angle. Yeah, so learning can also be informal. So we call it life-wide dimension. You guys can learn even in McDonald's. Even in McDonald's, your environment, what you surround yourself with, your body is your first environment, your physical body, your home where you live, your place of work. Yeah, all these physical and mental environments, they influence you in a way that you relearn, even subconsciously, even informally. And this is aesthetic intelligence. It's not emotional intelligence. When you look at somebody and you sympathize or you have empathy, yeah, mirror neurons. This is aesthetic intelligence. And that's why we have neuroaesthetics. This is the whole field in neuroscience. So don't think that everything that is not IQ is emotional intelligence. Yeah, this is not the case. So Garry Kasparov and what he can teach us about learning, unlearning, and relearning. So first of all, let's get so deep that probably no one has ever gone before, except people who do neuroscience professionally. So the neuroscience of learning, unlearning, and relearning, just for the first time. You won't hear it anywhere else because we've pioneered that and we had our papers accepted for publication, and this is going to be shared very soon. So we have our prefrontal cortex. Yeah, people call it the thinking brain. Yeah, so this is the organ which runs the whole thing. Yeah, the operating system, the operations. Yeah, the executive system of the brain. So prefrontal cortex uses neurotransmitters. Yeah, for instance, dopamine. Yeah, to regulate our cognitive skills, and metacognition is the best link to translate neuroscience to education. Because we can, of course, hire psychiatrists, and some schools in China, they do it already, and we can have, transcranial brain stimulations, yeah, especially children. We have also here in the UK, the University of Surrey, they do this wonderful research on brain stimulations, especially children with ADHD and other neurodevelopmental problems. So it works very well, but again, we don't have enough longitudinal studies yet to see that it's not harmful. What we know for now that it is not harmful, but again, this is something, so to speak, out. Yeah, it's not that comes from you, and it's not that where you actually are involved. Yeah, as the doer, as a subject, not as an object. Yeah, so the best way to translate neuroscience to education, we have two links: direct link and indirect. So the best way is through metacognition. And this is what we are doing in our lab, in Neurocom 25 lab. So the second link, indirect, is through psychology. Because we know that our brain is a physical organ involved in learning. Yeah, so this is brain optimization. When we optimize our brains for learning, we translate neuroscience for education: sleep, stress, physical exercises, yeah, nest, touch as well. Yeah, so this is direct link, and indirect link is through psychology. We know that psychology, neuroscience research should be mapped on psychological theories, right? Psychology studies behavior, and education is involved with how the instruction, how can we change the instruction, yeah, in a way that it affects behavior in a positive way. So this is the link. It's an indirect link. And this is executive functioning. Yeah, metacognition. So executive functions, prefrontal cortex, yeah, in the brain. And executive functions, there are three main. We have some extra like planning skills, yeah, some extra skills like decision making and so on. They're all operational because it's metacognition, as I said, yeah, applied. But the three are the most important, and you should know them. There's a working memory, and working memory is important for learning in particular. That's why I had this lengthy introduction for you on the science of learning, unlearning, and relearning, and why it is different. Because learning is self-regulated. You have to bring the horse to the water, and you have to make him drink yourself. Yeah, learning is self-regulated, so you need working memory. You need to keep it in your working memory to calculate, to do the things, to bear when you're doing the sums in mathematics. Yeah, you need to keep in mind all those all the sum that you are doing. Yeah, the conditions. If you are, we had the organizational training, the company, the software company, the engineers, yeah, the people who do coding, they have to bear in mind, all this coding information, yeah, while they're doing that, and multitask and do some other things. So it requires executive functions and particularly working memory for learning. This is the neuroscience of learning, unlearning, and relearning. Number two, inhibitory control for unlearning. So you guys cannot unlearn if you cannot sort of, we can't say block the thoughts, yeah, that are unnecessary, but control your thinking, yeah, control your actions. When you stop multitasking, yeah, when you go deeper, when you try to get rid of these, beliefs and assumptions that don't serve you anymore on a neuroscientific level, it maps onto this perfectly. You have to have good, well-developed inhibitory control. And this is your executive function. And relearning, to see the things from a different perspective. You need to do what? You need to be cognitively flexible. Just I let it sink in and take a mouthful. It's a nice tea, herbal tea. A lot of people, especially professionals, super professionals. The more professional you get, not the master. Master is unique. It's a different level. But professionals, they have problem with being cognitively rigid because you know so much that you can't see any room for looking at it from a different perspective. But this is neuroscience, but no one has told you this before. I know that it's relearning, executive function. Number three, cognitive flexibility, always looking at the things from a different standpoint. In the era of artificial intelligence, there is no way out. Otherwise, you're not going to thrive if you want to survive, let alone thriving. But masters are the people who know the subject so well that they break the rules. Period. You need to know something so well to become a master that you break the rules. All the, inventions, super inventions, whatever you take, give me any random example. They were made by people who broke the rules. Why did they break those rules? Because they were cognitively flexible. Because they could assume that there should be something, there can be something else, yeah, besides something that I know so well. I know it so well. I know everybody who does this research. I know everyone, I know the history of the whole subject. Yeah, I'm a professional in here. I know everything about educational neuroscience. You can ask me anything. I've learned everything. And then I understood that something is missing here. And this is not just about learning. That learning is three-dimensional. It's lifelong, life deep, and life wide. But it requires cognitive flexibility. And we will talk about Garry Kasparov. What does he have to say about it? The learning project. So your life learning project, working memory, yeah? It means you need to follow multiple processes. This is what Garry Kasparov said. So I have his book. This is an old book, yeah, the How Life Imitates Chess. An old one, oldie but goldie, 2007. But he also has the recent one, Deep Thinking. This is where he talks about AI and AI versus human intelligence. But we are going to hopefully talk about it if I don't forget also, because lots of things they are proven by neuroscience, by us, what he said in his books. So thinking several steps ahead. Yeah, to think several steps ahead. That's Garry's say in his book in chess. Yeah, you're seating your opponent in front of you. Now your opponent is your life, your career, your competitors. Artificial intelligence is your opponent, and they're sitting in front of you. So how can you think several steps ahead? How? By learning constantly, by having working memory, if we get into the neuroscience of things, yeah? By having a good working memory, it means learning constantly, keeping that in mind up until you connect the dots, up until you take notes. You know, I like carrying my notebook with me, and it requires neuroscientifically, yeah, deep down, good working memory, and it also requires to be a lifelong learner. This is what Garry Kasparov is saying, yeah? Mental tracking of multiple variables. These are what the chess is about, the game of chess, yeah? Got multiple variables. We are going to talk about them today in chess. This is time, quality, and material. Yeah, so we always have multiple variables in any task, yeah, that you have to do at work or whatever, even in your family life, even if you buy a house, right? You're checking, you have multiple variables, location. Because sometimes the house is nice, but the neighbors are not very nice, yeah, so you have to leave that alone. It doesn't go. So it requires cognitive flexibility. It requires working memory, cognitive flexibility as well, of course. Yeah, everything is interconnected. Then remembering the rules. Yeah, remembering the rules while problem solving. So keeping it all here. Yeah, so you're looking for the house and you are keeping, all those houses that you have just watched. Yeah, and you are comparing. Yeah, it's working memory. Some people, you won't believe it, but some people are incapable of making good decisions because they have trouble with working memory. And I'm serious now. Yeah, it sounds like a joke, but it is actually not a joke. So working memory is important, and dimension is lifelong learning. Yeah, always gaining new knowledge to compare. Yeah, to be competitive, you need to always gain new variables. Yeah, processing deep thinking with exceptions. How can you process exceptions? Yeah, if you don't have this all in place, if you're not constantly learning, yeah? Remembering which rules to apply. How can you remember which rules to apply in life and also at work? Yeah, if you have problem with learning, if you're not constantly learning, lifelong learning. Learning features across different domains simultaneously. How can you read this book and that book and that book simultaneously? A lot of people do that, and that's a good sign that you start one book and you add another one and you read them simultaneously, and to have all this, sort of helping you to, it's like a melting pot, yeah, helping you to make different decisions, and believe me, better decisions, yeah, because multidisciplinarity, not just disciplinarity, but this sort of multi approach. Yeah, it really helps you to have better decisions. But for this, you need metacognition. Yeah, learning, being a lifelong learner, and having good working memory, and tracking specifications. Yeah, how can you track things in your head? Yeah, again, you're viewing the houses. How can you decide? Yeah, which one is better? How can you do the tracking? How can you compare? You need to keep it all here, right? So life is like that. This world is like that. Yeah, and we have to, survive and thrive if we're lucky and if we're strong. So this is what Garry Kasparov, is saying in his book, the importance of having these. They're following multi-processes, being able to keep multiple things in mind. And it's also proven by neuroscience. Then number 2 is inhibitory control. So he described that in his book as well. Yeah. So resisting interruptions during learning game. There are lots of interruptions in terms that you see that you're losing energy, and your opponent might be gaining more energy. Yeah, so you lost, for example, you're losing time. Yeah, that's what he calls it, time or quality. Or material, yeah, a rook, a bishop, yeah, the game, this figure, yeah. So this is inhibitory control. How can you inhibit that you're losing? It's not like poker. You make poker face, but deep inside you feel, you know that you're losing, right? In chess, it's different. Chess is not the game of fools. It has nothing to do with luck. Absolutely zero to do with luck. This is what the chess masters like Garry Kasparov are saying. Poker is the game of luck. Chess, no. The same in learning. It's not the game of luck. You're lucky with your teacher, you're lucky with your environment. It's nothing like that. You create your environment. Yeah, you go into the places, you buy the books, you write the essays yourself. Yeah, because we learn by doing. You teach the others to learn. Yeah, so this is the game. It's not the game of luck. This is the game of consistency, the same as chess. So do you have this inhibitory control to inhibit all these noises? Yeah, all this cheap dopamine from scrolling online. Do you have this control in order to be a learner? Yeah, reading books, physical books, because you touch them, you smell them, and cognition is embodied, is not only here, is here, and all your 5 senses. Yeah, and by the way, guys, I think very soon the physical books might disappear in terms of, I mean, everything is becoming digital, and we don't know, we live in the era of post-truth, and this might be the case that we won't be able to actually, so to speak, distinguish if the physical books disappear. Yeah, we have a lack of them. So make sure you buy physical books. Yeah, buy them secondhand. Don't think that it's all reliable online. Ignoring distracting notifications, trying to break the laws to create our own energy. Yeah, this is what Garry Kasparov is saying. Yeah, sometimes he said a pawn reaches the other side. If it reaches the other side of the board, it can be promoted, yeah, and become as valuable as, for example, the bishop, not the king. Yeah, the only untouchable is the king in chess. Yeah, it's obsolete. The monarchy is obsolete in chess. Yeah, but it can be this very little thing for you, very little knowledge, this very little missing puzzle can be for you as valuable, especially if this is the last missing puzzle, can be as valuable as a degree at university. Maybe today's webinar is going to be more valuable for you than years of learning, yeah, on education. Anything can happen. It's like chess. Learning is like chess. Yeah, because the kid is you. You are obsolete. Yeah, your genetics and your environment. This cannot be, nothing can be promoted to more than that. Yeah, but any other missing pieces, they can be very valuable for you. So this is inhibitory control, for you to know how to inhibit these old beliefs, yeah, that don't serve you anymore, and be, have this bird's eye view of the whole picture of your life, of your learning journey, and maintain attention, yeah, during the lengthy game of chess, yeah, not giving up, counting, looking for the weaknesses of your opponent, yeah, according to Garry Kasparov. And for you, looking for the weaknesses of AI, looking at your life as a strategy. Inhibitory control is about strategy. Learning is strategic. It's not poker. It's consistency. It's not the game of fools. Yeah, it has nothing to do with luck. Suppressing the urge of multitasking. Yeah, of multitasking. Yeah, to multitask. So sometimes we have to concentrate, despite this craziness of the world and what it demands from us. Yeah, and this is what Garry Kasparov says, is focusing either on time, quality, or MQT, yeah? Time, quality, and what was the M one? Oh my goodness, I've forgotten that. Material, yeah, here we go. So either on time, quality, or material. Yeah, focusing on something one instead of trying to have it all. He said you can't have it all. Can't have material. It means the perfect figures in the game. Yeah, like have all of them there. Sometimes you have to sacrifice some figures in the game in order to gain advantage in front of your competitor, yeah, to gain advantage, to have more time, for example, yeah, to win more time, yeah, or to win the quality of the game. So you can't have it all. Yeah, stopping old habits when new things are introduced. Lots of new things we are introducing in the world of science, but people are still thinking about emotional intelligence and not knowing what it actually is. So I'm honestly, I'm sick of hearing all these posters of, so to speak, speakers, people talking about learning styles, presenters who have nothing to say, but people are still listening to them because these are old habits. Protect your time. Your time is valuable. Listen to the experts, to people who make a difference, either helping you to win material or time or quality, value. Yeah, giving up a bishop for a pawn doesn't make sense sometimes. Sometimes giving up a super successful professor, listening to a super successful, super duper trooper successful professor, or listening to somebody young but doing a revolutionary, of course, science-backed research. Sometimes it doesn't make sense from a material perspective, but it's a time advantage. It is going to save you a lot of time of your life. So this is your unlearning project. The relearning project, again, yeah, cognitive flexibility, switching between different frameworks. Yeah, we have MTQ in chess, again, material, time, quality. Yeah, so switching between material, time, quality, how it can be combined. We can't sometimes have it all. Yeah, but being able to sort of like change the rooms in the house. Okay, in this game, from this person, I'm going to learn materials, great material, it's great research. This person is going to save me time because they can explain things in a way that nobody else can. So it clicks. Yeah, I understand it instantly, implicitly. Yeah, from this I'm gonna get quality. Yeah, if I'm going to study, if I'm going to have this project-based learning, yeah, it's gonna be hands-on experience and it's good quality. So try to relearn, try to switch between different frameworks. And also in your work, in your working life, there are different frameworks. The things can be done differently, depending on what you do. Then moving between conceptual understanding and practical application. Garry is saying the rigid strategy is a weakness. You can't just, decide. You can't choose. It's not about either practical, having good theory is perfect, but it should be practical element, or just practice without theory. As Tal Ben Shahar says, my teacher, that reflection without action is just pointless. We should have both reflection and action, and this is relearning. Then adapting your game to your competitor's game. Looking at the thing from a different perspective. How can you adapt your game? Because you have got the AI. He is your competitor now. How can you adapt your game? Whatever you're doing, teaching, I don't know, coding, how can you adapt your game? Relearn. Start relearning now. Thinking from multiple stakeholder perspectives simultaneously is so difficult, as a teacher. For me personally, it was very difficult. Thinking as a teacher, then, Edward de Bono, this thinking hats. Thinking as a researcher here, thinking as a teacher, thinking as a businesswoman, entrepreneur, thinking as a consumer, as a learner, the person who also likes learning all the time. Whatever you do, this thinking hats, different hats, trying to look at things from a multiple stakeholder perspective. This is also relearning, according to Garry Kasparov. And switching between different modes of understanding, different modes. There are different modes, and you have to switch between them. You can't choose either or. We don't choose. The genius is of the end. It's not love or money. It's love and money. You don't have to choose. The truth is in between all the time. Understanding different priorities. Your different priorities as a learner, and also translating concepts is also relearning. I'm translating a neuroscience for you now, and this is also relearning. Okay, and very quickly into chess, MTQ. As I said, time, quality, and material. So material, your resources. This is the basic and the most visually apparent factor, representing the tangible assets that you have. So in life, as a learner, you have your tangible assets. This is your education, your degrees, your experience. So the question is, according to Garry Kasparov, how are you going to invest your tangible assets? Sometimes you have to swap them for time, because time is ticking. Sometimes the skill, the assets that you gained before, they won't serve you now. Like, there were lots of computer developers, people who do coding, and some AI programs, they have substituted them completely. So people couldn't swap. They couldn't exchange the time for assets, for material, and they failed. Chess is a long game. It's a deep game. It requires deep thinking. This refers to the pieces on the board, which have established point values. A player must always consider material gains or loses. In learning, this translates to your available resources, and even your available resources, your money. What do you invest your money into? Which courses, learning courses do you buy? And sometimes people buy ineffective courses, so always think about it. What do you invest into? So Kasparov notes that the value of your material assets, it's dynamic. and it fluctuates based on the context. Yeah. Currently, with AI on the ground, a lot of assets, they've lost their value. Yeah, some degrees are losing their value. Some, investment into particular fields is not necessary anymore because you can ask AI, consult AI for about some things. It can be the case as well. So you have to be careful about that as well. And your time, urgency and sequence. And Garry Kasparov talks about the clock time. Yeah, they have the clock when they start playing chess, and they set the time and it starts. So your time is ticking. Yeah, you are lifelong learners. The clock has started. Yeah, but we also have the board time. And the board time, that's what we have in our educational engineering course that we are launching for all the educational professionals. We explain, that the goals, they have to be time bound, but time bound means there is an outcome time, which is the clock time, and there is the process time. And we explain it as kairos and chronos. Yeah, in Greek, we have kairos, which is chronos, which is chronology, the clock time, according to Garry Kasparov. And we also have the kairos, which is opportunity time, or he calls it the board time. And it's very important that you guys know when is the board time for you to learn and what to learn, for you to unlearn and what to unlearn, for you to relearn and what to relearn. Yeah, so these things are very important. And quality, your position, your potential. Yeah, in chess, quality is the combination of all these pieces and their value. So your education, your degrees, your practical experience, your projects, or everything, whatever you do, this is the quality that you have. So in learning, quality relates to your strength, even, relates to the organization, how you can organize things in your life, limitations of your resources, your potential for modification, your potential for improvement. So it's very important to evaluate how well you can position yourself to succeed in your current environment. So this is the framework proposed by Garry Kasparov, and we applied it to the science of learning today to explain it to you in a way that you understand. And a recap. So relearning. Kasparov emphasizes the importance, we start from the end, the importance of blending analytical reasoning with intuitive insight. Because relearning is passive, it's informed. Experience allows experts to instantly recognize patterns, and make intuitive decisions, which sometimes can be better than over analyzing. So having this cognitive flexibility and being a life-wide learner, being involved in relearning, sometimes leads to better decisions than over analyzing things. And unlearning, self-awareness and bias. A key lesson from Garry Kasparov. A key lesson is that the need for self-awareness in decision-making is crucial. And recognizing your own cognitive biases, your habitual approaches, allows you to make more objective choices. Kasparov recommends honestly evaluating past decisions, including victories and not only victories, your weaknesses as well. And learning, the last but not the least. So adaptability, risk-taking, preparation, this is all the process of being lifelong learning. Is preparation Wherever you learn something new skill, you prepare yourself for future battles that you don't know about now. Thank you. And on this note, I would like to introduce the course that we are starting. It's an 8-week course. And it's not just a course. This is, the starting from Kurt Fischer, the founder of the field of mind, brain, and education at the University of Harvard. All the researchers, Usha Gotswani from University of Cambridge, they have been talking about the necessity of having these people, middlemen, people who will be equipped to translate neuroscience research to practical applications, sorry. And they call them educational engineers in their seminal papers. And we did that. We created a course that will teach you how to understand research, how to distinguish causation and correlation. Yeah, because these days there are a lot of snake oil salespeople, yeah, who call their courses brain friendly, yeah, but in reality it has nothing to do with neuroscience. Yeah, everything that has neuro sells very well, but this is not the case. It will teach you everything about translating neuroscience to education. And this project, is not a money-making course because the price is very low. It's very affordable. Whatever we do, we only charge our high net worth clients. We have high fees when we work with individuals. But for teachers, we have lots of materials for free, and some courses we charge very small amounts. So this course is 99 British pounds, but it gives you basically a new job if you believe in the jobs of the future, but you will have everything about neuroscience and how to apply it to your practice. Yeah, whatever you do, if you are teaching, yeah, if you have children as well, you might be interested how to apply neuroscience to their development. So that's it. And if you guys have questions, I will try to answer them. Yeah, yes, for the certificates. Yeah, if you would like a certificate, please type your email in the chat so that I will send you your certificate next week. And I record, yeah, so no questions, yeah? Here, I can't see the questions. They are lost, I think. Neuroscience and psycholinguistics. Yeah, so psycholinguistics is exploring the text, what the text has to tell us, yeah, about the cognitive processes of the writer. It's an interesting field of study. And also psycholinguistics explores the language in the brain. Anything else? All right. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So that's it for today. We are right on time. So it took us exactly 1 hour. So thank you for listening. And please subscribe. We just started our page on Instagram. We don't have so many subscribers. We still didn't buy the ghost followers. So please find us Neurocamp25 on Instagram. Follow us, register for the webinars. Even if you can't make it, you can always get the recording if you register. Okay, see you guys. Good night. Bye-bye here. Okay, and ending here. What is this?